Tell us a little bit about what you saw and being able to relay that message to Cora when you watched Kimbrel pitch and kind of help out so he wasn't tipping his pitches.
So tipping pitches, we hear about it all the time.
People at home understand what tipping pitches is all about.
It's amazing.
And that's remarkable.
Alex, having to come up with 2 cold opens for the Tipping Pitches podcast on back-to-back days is a fate worse than death. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Yet here I am, a mere 24 hours after we recorded the last podcast, sitting across from you, thinking, how am I going to start the emergency Tony Clark resigns as executive director of MLBPA?
I was going to say, it's very sweet of you to think that you need to do a cold open for this pod. I mean, I guess it is our style to kick the real topics 15 minutes into the episode, so we weed out all the stragglers. What did you have? Did you come up with something?
I don't do it to weed out the stragglers. I do it to warm you up. It's not about the stragglers. It's about what's going on here between
a bit of an amuse-bouche.
Or it's like, you know how before you would start like a basketball, you didn't play basketball growing up, but like, you know how before you start a game, they're always like, in your warm-up, you should be sweating. You know, like you should be sweating before the game starts. Not really much of a baseball concept, but that was something
I
they
played
said
baseball. They were like, you shouldn't even be sweating while you're running.
That's kind of my approach to podcasting. Is it's like, if you start cold, that's why we sit down and for 9 minutes, we look at each other on the screen before we start podcasting.
It's true. No words.
Just getting the brain
staring
going.
Straight into each other's soul.
Well, thankfully, I had a different cold open than I was going to use on yesterday's podcast that I didn't get to use because I had to reveal to you in real time that I sliced my finger off and went to the emergency room.
Mm-hmm.
And that cold open was that I've invented a new concept, and it's going to be relevant for what we're going to talk about today. Are you familiar with the concept of intuitive eating?
No, I can't say that I am.
Do you know anything about eating? Anything about food in general?
Intuitive eating? What the fuck is this bullshit?
Put these 2 words together, okay? You know what eating is.
Yeah.
And you know what
intuitive eating.
intuitive
That's
is.
just eating.
Yeah, eating.
All of my eating is intuitive. I know how to fucking do it.
Look at you. You're a naturally intuitive eater. Intuitive eating is the idea that you eat just when you feel hungry. That's it. Whenever you're hungry, you eat, and when you're not, you don't. You don't force yourself into the food pyramid, 3 meals a day. You just eat when you're hungry. That's it. It's a basic concept. I actually think it's quite useful. It unlocks the idea of eating for a lot of people who have a challenging relationship to food. I've invented a new intuitive behavior. It's called intuitive working. I work when I feel like working. And when I don't, I don't work. I'm not beholden to the 9 to 5 schedule, Alex. I'm not beholden to it's 9:15 a.m. and Tony Clark has resigned from the Major League Baseball Players Association. It's time to work. No, it wasn't time to work. I wasn't hungry for work. But you know what I am right now? I'm hungry for work.
Hungry for work. Hungry for content, you might say.
Well, I'm always hungry for content. And so is everybody else listening to this podcast. And that's why they're thrilled that this is the fifth emergency podcast of Tipping Pitches in Tipping Pitches' history.
5 seems high, but A's moving, Cohen buying the Mets are 2 that I can think of.
I don't think we emergency potted when Steve Cohen bought the Mets.
Really?
This is what people came to hear, actually, is us arguing about episodes from 3 years ago.
We might have done that. Someone has already fact-checked us on.
We definitely podcasted when they signed the last CBA.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely podcasted when the minor leaguers announced that they were unionizing.
Mm-hmm.
We podcasted emergency potted when they dropped the CBA language, or they dropped the full PDF document. That's 3. And then the A is leaving. So this makes number 5.
Right, that's good. Good counting.
Thank you.
Call that intuitive counting.
I'm about to intuitively intro the podcast. And we're going to intuitively discuss the inner workings of the complicated web that is the Major League Baseball Players Association. But before we do, I am Bobby Wagner.
I am Alex Baisley.
And you are listening to Tipping Pitches. Okay, Alex, I think we actually did get a new patron since yesterday. Hang on. It's the stuff of legends. Thank you to this day's new patrons, A-Rod's Burner and So Rare Row. Big day.
Huge
for the
day.
Patreon. Big day for the Tipping Pitches podcast. We're obviously here to discuss the breaking news that took the baseball world by surprise on February 17th. No, it had nothing to do with what's happening on the field. It is that Tony Clark, who has been the executive director of the Major League Baseball Players Association, what many believe to be the strongest union in professional sports, has resigned after 13 years at the helm. He was the first player to serve as the executive director of the Major League Baseball Players Association. This is a organization that has been around for 60 years, and he was in charge for almost 15 of them, almost a quarter of it. So needless to say, this was shocking. This is obviously shocking for our world, the world that we cover, which is baseball finances, baseball economics, labor. I don't know. Tony Clark is one of the main characters of the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
There's this word in journalism that gets thrown around a lot for people who are dealing with scandals. It's embattled or embroiled in a scandal. Tony has been embroiled in a couple different scandals over the last couple of years at the head of the Players Association. One of them is that there's currently a federal investigation from the Eastern District of New York into the Major League Baseball Players Association, as well as the MLBPA, related to profits from One Team Partners, which was a licensing company that they helped to form. Another was that there was an internal coup. I don't know if there's a better way to describe it, to try to platform Harry Marino as the next executive director of the Players Association instead of Tony Clark. Despite all of that, he remained in charge of the union. He remained the head of the union over the last couple of years until this morning, when it was revealed via, I think, The Athletic broke it first. Ken Rosenthal at The Athletic broke it first that he was resigning, and then later Jeff Passan and Don Van Natta of ESPN revealed that it was due to a revelation that he had an improper relationship with a Players Association employee who he is also related to, is his sister-in-law. Those are the facts. Seems ridiculous to say out loud. It seems even more ridiculous for me to pose this extremely open-ended question to you, but what do you make of the last 12 hours?
Well, I just want to add a point of clarification, which is that the federal investigation is investigating Clark and the MLBPA on like multiple levels. There's a investigation into Clark himself, allegations of, you guessed it, self-dealing.
I'm sorry to laugh. I don't mean to be glib about what is actual chaos among the MLBPA, and I'm sure people are feeling stressed because of what has gone on there today and over the last several months, but self-dealing gets me every time.
Yeah, I love self-dealing. I do it all the time. You might say I'm a bit of an intuitive self-dealer. But so there's like personal corruption level investigation into Clark. And then as you mentioned, there's One Team Partners, the joint venture with the NFLPA. And then there's the investigation into Players Way, which is the youth development program run by the MLBPA, which it's alleged has spent millions of dollars on like a couple events. And where has all that money gone? So when we sat down to record the state of labor in baseball roughly a month ago, I made the case that I think we should talk about Clark, because I think that his federal investigation may weigh very heavily on this coming year of negotiations. There's a chance it becomes a distraction, whether he needs to step aside or whatever. And you and Mike, I think, rightly said, well, I forgot that was even a thing. So clearly it's not relevant to talk about on the state of labor in baseball.
Are you taking a victory lap on me right now, Bob?
No, I'm not even, because here's the thing is there were 3 different things stacked up against Clark. And if you'd asked me, does he make it through the year? I would have said, no, there's federal investigations against him. Absolutely not. The thing I did not expect is that he was carrying on a relationship with his sister-in-law, who also worked for the MLBPA in the office with him in Arizona, that is in part at the center of the corruption scandal that kicked all of this off to begin with. So like, it's all tied together in these really sort of nebulous ways, especially the like NFLPA side of things. And there's allegations he tried to squash the investigation into one team.
I want to say, as a point of clarity, I'm watching your head spin. I want to just say we are very much recording this in the middle of all of this coming out. So if by the time you're listening to this, there's been another domino that has fallen, that would not surprise me at all, frankly. Like, we are not even to the eye of the storm yet. We're still seeing stuff that's coming out. My understanding of how this information came to light was that it was part of the investigation, part of the Players Association's internal investigation that they launched in cooperation with the Eastern District of New York while they were being investigated for these crimes. I guess there's no other way to say that. Which would make this maybe the first time an internal investigation revealed anything meaningful of any organization that's bigger than like 8 people, you know? So a lot more details are coming out. I think for the purview of this podcast, I think obviously this is newsworthy enough from the perspective that this now has called into a question for a lot of baseball fans, what will happen heading forward in union negotiations. Are there any other like details of the case that you want to details of what's gone on for the last 12 hours that you want to lay out there before we have that conversation?
No, I guess I'll just no. Yes, let me add something else. I guess I will add that
that's podcasting right there.
That's right.
That's intuitive conversing.
I think the latest piece of public reporting we have on this, which was that the union's like player committee came together, did not hold a vote on who the interim executive director is going to be.
Notable.
Maybe, or
not
maybe.
Holding a vote is its own way of holding a vote.
Maybe.
It's my perspective.
So that's what we know. The MLBPA, as of today, they were getting ready to get on well, I guess they're probably already there, but like they were getting ready to go to meet teams in spring training. He had a meeting scheduled with the Cleveland Guardians today, and then at 6 a.m. the MLBPA called and said, I don't think you guys need to be ready for Clark. I don't think there's any concerns about him coming through camp today.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of what was so surprising about all of this is that multiple people have confirmed, who are reporters with individual teams, who Clark and MLBPA were planning to meet with. This is something that MLBPA does every offseason. It's of particular note in this offseason as we head into the final season before the CBA expires. But they were planning to start that process today, and then they canceled it last minute. I mean, as recently as last night, people assumed he was coming to meet with Cleveland. Yeah, I mean, this is just, it's shocking. Like, I don't know how else to say it. I think that, you know, as you mentioned, the latest bit of reporting is that the players came together and they had a meeting today around 4:30 Eastern. In that meeting, they talked about presumably who might take over, who is on the table to take over. I don't know if anybody made their case to take over as the executive director in an interim capacity of the PA, but they will have to elect someone. I think this is unprecedented in the history of the Players Association, that there's this sort of sudden resignation and they have to elect someone to replace them. I think there was always a little bit more time for more of a nomination process in the past, but it's incredibly tumultuous at a time when you don't want tumult. You want to be battening down the hatches right around now.
Yeah. That
being said, I actually am a little more bearish. Is that what you would say in terms of the stock market?
It depends on what you're going to say. I don't know. Maybe. Are you optimistic or pessimist?
I'm bearish on the idea that this has really any impact on upcoming negotiations.
Yeah.
Frankly, if I just share my full-on perspective on this, I don't think it will.
Let's bet on this. Let's bet on this. Come on.
Let's bet on this. What's the Francesa line from Uncut Gems? He's like, "That's got to be the worst bet I ever heard in my fucking life."
I disagree.
God, that movie's
just
so
just
good.
rewatched that a couple weeks ago.
Me too. I think it was like the day after Christmas or something, and then I watched that. That's a holiday movie, in my opinion.
It really is, yeah. That's a Christmas movie.
It's not a Christmas movie because it's one of the more Jewish movies of all time, I guess. I don't know. My honest opinion is that this doesn't really impact negotiations as much as people are making it out to be. It does impact the more longitudinal trajectory of the Players Association. Whoever takes over next has the power to organize and run the business of the Players Association in the long term, but the bargaining priorities between now and then don't change. A name that we have not said yet on this podcast is Bruce Meyer, who was the lead negotiator for the last time around. He has been the lead negotiator for multiple different professional sports unions in his career. He keeps being described in all of these reports that I've read today as the hard-nosed negotiator, a hard-nosed lawyer. That feels like the phrasing that was thrown around to a couple different reporters. Just speculating here. And he was the person who negotiated the last CBA, a CBA that clearly did not have full support from the Players Association because the executive subcommittee uniformly voted against it, and the player reps voted for it, 26-4. So,
and then they tried to oust the guy responsible for it.
Correct. 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And Tony defended him, and they all stuck around until now. So I almost feel like it's not even worth speculating like how the players feel about who they're going to elect going forward, who's going to be in an interim capacity. The thing I'll say about that is that there are more people in the Players Association who have had sort of like executive roles, who have the requisite experience that if they wanted the job, they could take it, than you're thinking of. It's not as simple as just like Bruce Meyer is the only person who could possibly step into this role right now, so therefore he will. I think some people are maybe jumping to that conclusion. And I think it's actually going to take longer than we think.
For the interim or for the like long-term actual executive director?
For the interim, it might take like a week or two, a couple weeks. Like I don't think it's going to be like in the next 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah.
And for the long-term one, I don't think it's going to be until after the CBA is negotiated.
I agree with that. I think it behooves them to effectively lock in their, we love behooving here.
They've been bequeathed an opportunity.
To pick someone who will be there with them for the long haul in this upcoming negotiation, and maybe someone who has been there for the long haul in past rounds of negotiation. And as you mentioned, once this CBA gets ironed out, you figure out what your next step is. Now, maybe that is a years-long process. We do not know when that next CBA will necessarily arrive. But as you mentioned, Meyer was already the lead negotiator on these past CBAs. He has the skills. I got word that he's a bit of a hard-nosed lawyer.
Streets are saying,
and has generally speaking been in lockstep with Clark this whole time. Now, you can take that as a positive, you can take that as a negative, but in terms of the quote-unquote transition of power, if Meyer is the one to step into those shoes, I don't think it really changes anything. And none of this changes anything for the union's stated goals either, which is one, no salary cap, like 50 feet of shit, and then all the other things that you talk about.
I have a couple. Okay, I have a couple outstanding questions. Let me just ask the one about who takes over or whatever, so that we can move off of this topic, and then we can talk about like what this actually means for negotiations, and then we can be done. Do you think it has to be a player? It obviously doesn't have to be a player. Like, there's nothing in the union constitution that says that it has to be a player, of course.
Clark was the first one.
Correct. But like, do you think the composition of the rank and file and the disposition of those players would lead you to believe that they would want it to be a player? Is how I'll phrase that. I gave you so many outs there. This is just guessing, by the way.
Yeah, so this is all guessing. It seems like if you, I mean, I don't know. On the one hand, there was a large contingent of players who were ready to throw their weight behind Harry Marino. And here was a guy who had played ball, had the sort of legal chops to back it up, and clearly sparked something within a lot of players.
I heard that a lot of players liked that he made an appearance on the Tipping Pitches podcast.
Me
once.
too. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He checked all the boxes from our perspective.
On the other hand, you just went through 2 CBA cycles that didn't really have outcomes that you were happy with a former player leading the charge on those.
But it's not like, but it's not like in the 2000s they were smashing it either, though. It's not like
No.
pre-Clark they were just picking them up and putting them down.
So I guess I would lean towards yes. I think probably a lot of the players would feel comfortable having someone like that in the position. I'm not sure that that's like
the number one consideration.
The number one consideration, or even the correct consideration. I know someone like Kevin Slowey, who is the managing director of player services. His name has gotten tossed around. He's a former player.
Yeah, I don't know. Everyone whose name appears on the website is going to get tossed around. You know, like
exactly.
I'm a fan of some of the guys who have joined the Players Association in the last couple of years who used to be players.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly a tall, lanky, left-handed reliever who we've been trying to get on the podcast for a little while, who's not named Sean Doolittle. He's not on the Players Association executive.
Coward.
You know why? Because he's management now.
Mm-hmm. That's actually true. Fuck.
Let's get his ass. I hope he's
first
listening.
Canceled guest.
Sean, if you're listening, you're management now. We're going to make a t-shirt that says "Your Management Now" with Sean's face on it. No, he's doing well. We're happy for him. I don't know. I was curious your perspective on that because I think that is a piece of this. I mean, it's a piece of Tony's legacy as the executive director, that he was the first person to have been a player to take it over, and that he lasted for as long as he did as the executive director. So in any case, last thing, I think it's really easy to oversimplify how these negotiations work. Oh, it's Bruce Meyer on one side of the table and it's Dan Halem on the other side of the table, and it's a chess match, you know? And if one guy loses, he gets mad and flips the board over. It's a test of wits. Who can outlast? Who can outwit? It's not like that. Like, that's not how negotiations go. It's just as easy to simplify things. And Manfred is guilty of this too. After a negotiation goes and say, you know, the relationship between Rob Manfred and Tony Clark is indicative of the strain between the Players Association and the teams. Like, to some extent, that's true. And if they were better friends, could they fast track some of the things that they didn't need to be arguing about for as long as they were arguing about? Sure. But if you put you and me across the table from each other, you know, if you had best friends across the table from each other negotiating, the points that you're talking about are still diametrically opposed, and you are representing the whole group. You would, of course,
quickly.
You would, of course, be representing.
I'm saying, yo, you want to get out of here and do a pod? You, Monfort.
Mm-hmm. Who else are your guys? Fucking Stanton, John Stanton. You love that guy. You love a Rotary Club.
No, it's me and the fish.
You're a bit, well, obviously the fish. You're a big Zalewski guy. You've been dropping his name a lot recently.
That's true. Yes. He did find me my starter home, so I can't complain too much.
But the nature of the thing necessitates that you are diametrically opposed. It is a zero-sum game. You are arguing over a finite amount of money and political capital. And the executive director himself of the Players Association does not imbue that negotiation with any particular strength just because of who he is. Marvin Miller was smart, and he was duping a lot of dumb, greedy owners at the time. And he would admit as much. But he would have never been able to do that as successfully as he did without the solidarity of the rank and file players. And though that seems like a trite thing to say, though that seems naive to say sometimes because of the backroom nature of how it feels sometimes these deals come together, you can't actually go into a back channel negotiation without some card in your pocket or like some card in your hand or whatever. Now I'm mixing metaphors. But you actually have to have something other than a bluff. Because if you don't, those guys across the table now, they're really smart. They went to Yale, like they have been practicing management side labor law for 50 years. They know that you are bluffing. So there was nothing that Tony was doing that was not given to him by the rank and file. And so long as the rank and file still feels that they have their priorities straight, which they do, I actually don't think this changes the negotiation at all upcoming.
No, I agree with you. And Tarek Skubal basically said the same to The Athletic, which was, yeah, Tony was the face, maybe, of the PA, but this doesn't impact negotiating in any way. Bruce has done a great job in the past. We're confident in him in the future. That's c'est la vie. That's the way the world goes. He didn't say that last part. I added those in, but, it felt implied.
He's been listening to the pod. He really loves your work with French pronunciations.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me see if I can work a couple of these into my pressers.
I don't know. It's just I guess it's our lot in life to be covering the sunset of the MLBPA,
No, I don't think they're sunsetting. I think this is the dawn of a new day.
I mean, I kind of agree. Frankly, this is maybe not
also,
the way.
Sunsetting's not that bad, by the way. Biden seems
true.
like he's having fun. He's eating ice cream. He's riding his bike.
I just think it's wild that this sort of gold standard of American unions in the last 10 years has hit a bit of a rough patch. They could use a couple years when they're out of the news. That's my take.
It's only wild if you don't follow the history of other American unions, like you compare this rough patch to the rough patch that the Teamsters went through for the last, 58 years. We're doing all right.
Well, yes, broadly speaking.
Squeaky clean
I
school
do
children comparatively.
You're saying the MLBPA was late on this. Corruption is so passé. We don't do that anymore. You didn't hear?
Hang on. Take it easy with the C word. I think this is going to be fun. I think moments like this test the strength of the union, and I think that it's actually encouraging that the players did not rush to just elect someone right away. I think that they don't feel the need to because they understand that they dictate the terms of the negotiation. Just in the same way that if Rob Manfred suddenly resigned, I don't think Dick Monfort would lose a wink of sleep over it.
Yeah.
Nor should he.
They shove the next bag of meat up there onto the podium,
Speaking of the next bag of meat up onto the podium on the Players Association side, can we get creative with it now that we're done having a serious conversation?
Mm-hmm.
Come on, Lena Khan. You did it already. You fixed New York City. Junk fees are gone. Hot dogs are free. Step up.
She is very much in the Marvin Miller mold.
That's
what
what I'm saying.
A person who believes in capitalism.
She's an industrial antitrust capitalist.
Fuck.
Put her in the seat. Put her in the seat. You got nothing to lose.
Look, we've campaigned and won before. I'm wearing my Unionize the Miners shirt right now. Round 2.
All I'm saying, Miss Khan, if you're listening, do we have a track record of people who don't come on the podcast resigning from the executive director role of the Players Association? Yes, we do. So I think you should come on the podcast.
I won't say it. Never mind.
I pushed you right up to the line. I pushed you right up to the line and dared you to jump over.
I can't do it. It's a Tuesday. It's too early for this.
Things are going well with Big Z, but it's only been a month and a half.
Did you hear we're freezing the rent?
Are we?
Yeah, he got his rent guidelines board majority today.
Oh yeah, I voted for that. I voted for whatever the thing it was, but took away all the rules and we could put all his people in power. The prop. I voted for all the props that were make his life easier. I saw his press conference today that was listen, we gotta tax these guys. I don't know what to tell you. They left us with $6 billion in debt. We gotta tax them.
Yeah. I voted for this.
He's a straight shooter.
Literally. All right. Tony Clark. Anything more on him?
No, I think that's it. I'm curious to see what comes next of this, but I don't personally view this as a let's get out the popcorn and watch this like an entertainment product. I think this feels quite procedural. I view this a little bit more like if my boss resigned, would it be a little bit harder to have to get to know the next person who I'm working in conjunction with to talk to podcasters at Patreon? Yeah, it'd be a little harder. Take a little extra social capital, a little extra emotional energy. But I'd still be able to do that job. Just like I think the players will still be able to do it. The players and the staffers of the Players Association will still be able to do the job of negotiating the next CBA.
Yeah, well, the internal investigation revealed all this back in December. So presumably at least some players have had a chance to sit with some of this.
Oh, I don't know, dude.
And I'm sure plenty were rocked by it, but I would be shocked if this was the first that anyone had heard about any of this. I could be wrong.
I think you are wrong. I think this
bad communication then.
I think this is a revelation.
But the other thing is we have a baseball season starting. I don't think the players want to actively be thinking about this. So
that's another point to why they might want to get it resolved, get the vote done before the season starts, so that doesn't drag into when games are actually being played.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. Thanks for listening. Emergency pod. I don't know any kind of emergency where you wait 12 hours to address it, but except every emergency of modern life, I guess. But this is the emergency pod. Thanks for listening. Back to your regularly scheduled programming tomorrow on Patreon and next Monday right here on the main feed. We'll see you then.
Hello, everybody. I'm Alex Rodriguez. Tipping pitches.
Tipping pitches.
This is the one that I love the most.
Tipping pitches.
So we'll see you next week. See ya!